Hey guys, Paul McLean here. Welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Podcast. Hey, truly excited and privileged that you've joined this morning. I hope this serves you and serves you well. I sat back and thought, man, who can I have on here that can really just articulate like just trusting the process, like going through it, that kind of started out, didn't happen right away. Like for most, like for me, it didn't either, but like, I think a lot of times you can get caught up thinking that everybody else's highlight reel should be your behind the scenes. That's not the way it works. And by the way, their highlight reel wasn't there behind the scenes. It looks good now, but you don't realize the sacrifice, the long nights, the early mornings praying like, God, can this thing turn around? The chargebacks, the debt, or it could be the lead investment, trying to figure out how to come up, all these different things. And what I want to do is unpack that today to encourage you to say, hey, what you've expected and what you think is probably isn't, and what you think isn't probably is. And I think with clarity and expectation and being transparent, open, and humble this morning, we could be able to kind of give you guys some inspiration, maybe impact you so you go out there and continue to put your head down and fight the good fight to build something significant. And so with further ado, I got my good buddy, somebody that's built a massive business. That's one of the main trainers on telesales. He's adapted well and he's killing it with that as well. If you guys could welcome Brandon Kitchings.
What's up, brother?
What's up with that ring, bro?
Hall of Fame, baby.
Is that what that is?
Yes, sir.
Ka-ching.
Ka-ching.
Ka-chings.
Yes,
That's
sir.
how you told me. He said, that's ka-chings. Dude, I like that, man. That looks good, man.
Thank you, man.
I'm waiting for mine to come in.
Oh, okay.
I had to measure my finger. That's how slow I am. I had to we had to do the whole thing, and that looks good. But Brandon, how long you been with Family First Life now, man?
Coming up on 3 years.
3 years.
About 2 months shy.
Okay. Yep. Do you remember those meetings in Riverside?
I remember.
And you would drive up.
Yep.
You sit there right in the front.
Yep.
That was back when you had the long hair, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember especially the Riverside meeting. We rented a van and drove like 10 agents out from Phoenix.
Was that just because you wanted to get your team there and they didn't really have the means to get there?
Part of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I know how much meetings, do for new agents, just agents in general, even though, I'm still, like I said, been here almost 3 years, I get something out of every training that I attend. Dude,
it's almost like we could do the whole 20 minutes on that. Yeah. Like the fact that like you knew, like you could have drove there and not had to rent a van.
Correct.
And to be honest, like when you drive 5 hours, sometimes I don't want to have a bunch of people around me talking. I mean, maybe I'm not saying I don't like people. I love people, but dude, sometimes it's like that's a long drive.
Yeah.
Did you bring Teresa?
Yeah.
Well, heck, just so you guys know, it's Brandon. I'm sure you agree. I'd rather just drive with my wife 5 hours.
Right.
Talk, look in her eye. I mean, it's my wife.
Yeah.
Than have a bunch of agents. But you knew that it would be beneficial for the agents.
Correct.
And they were in a spot where they maybe needed a hand up.
Yes.
Now that has that continued on to show its face in your business?
Oh yeah. If we look at the conference from this past February, same thing. We got the agents out there. I rented a 15-passenger van to get everybody around.
I love that.
To make sure that they were, going to be in the right place at the right time, and we were, taking this thing serious for what it was, which was a business trip. Not a vacation.
I love that, man. And I think it comes down to a simple question you could ask yourself, man. Like, what's the single biggest thing that I could do to help my agents out? And I know a lot of times, Brandon, when I asked myself that, it was how can I get them to a meeting where they could start to believe more in themselves. They could remove all the self-doubt, the fear, whatever that might be holding them back, these false belief systems, and just really come out of there and be encouraged to go out and just take action and get after it nonstop. That was like, for me, I knew that was the best thing. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of come up with ideas, whether that's plane tickets and things like that, incentives. If you do this, I'll do that. And that's how all of a sudden, boom, something small, a small thought, a small question you ask yourself, and it leads you down that path. Yeah. Well, Brandon, I want you to kind of talk about, it's been 2.5 years. I remember you sitting there in those meetings, and by the way, I remember you sitting there. I still remember Sean coming, and he was doing a training, and it was the first time you met him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong or right?
No, you're right.
We didn't plan this, bro. So if you could say you're wrong.
No.
And I'm going off my memory. But I remember the impact you had because you were so engaging. Like you were wanting to learn. You wanted this thing, dude.
Right.
It wasn't just something that was said, it was felt. Like your presence was you had this energy and excitement and this hope that, man, like this is something that I could change my family's life for, like how did you get that first of all? Because the struggle came after, but the hope got you there. And obviously you can have the hope, but then the struggle's still going to come. And that's where the faith, it's got to be tested, and you build the perseverance to continue on. But how did you, what caused you to have that excitement, that hope? Because I remember Sean talking to you, dude, like just you and him. Like he was like asking you questions, man. He was excited about you. And there was 250 people in the room.
Yeah, I remember that because he made me stand up on the table that day.
That's right.
To show my shoes.
Yeah.
So I remember that vividly. And for me, man, I had no plan B. Just point blank. I had no plan B. When I decided to take this opportunity here with Family First Life, I had a 12.5-year career with one of the biggest banks here in the country. I've been with them for a long time, but I actually quit before I even passed the test. So I had to put myself in a position where there was not going to be a plan B. There was not going to be any way for me to tuck my tail and run.
Was that just something you knew about yourself, that you would operate better without any kind of plan B?
I've always has. Like I've always been the type of person that I feel like I thrive better under pressure. I've never studied for tests. I was not that student that would study for the teachers. Tell you got a test coming up in 2-3 weeks. I'm not the student that would start studying right then and there. All along the way. I would wait till like a day or two before the test.
You're one of those crammers?
Yeah.
The crammer guys?
Yeah. Yeah. I perform better under pressure. And so for me, it's all about putting the pressure on myself to perform. And in that way, I know I have no choice but to perform. Because if I don't, then I got to look my wife in the eye. I got to look my kids in the eye. I got to look my mom in the eye and say, hey, I let y'all down.
Hey, did you do the same thing with like leads, like just invest in a bunch of the leads? To get it, I mean, how did that play out also as far as stacking the pressure?
It took me a while to get there. I'm not gonna lie. We talk about a lot of times of my first lead purchase when I had my original conversation with Stephen, and I didn't listen. He told me, whatever you do, don't buy 20 leads. That was at a time when we only had, just the Facebook, leads at that time, no internet leads. So it was either, get some Facebook, Facebook leads, final expense leads, or, you get mortgage protection and wait 4 to 6 weeks. So it was like, let me get the Facebook leads right. I need to go right now. And so I remember Stephen, like, whatever you do, don't buy 20 leads. You're new. You're not a veteran like me. I could possibly get 20 leads and go out and protect those families and recoup my investment. But you're new. You've never done it before. You're going to need more shots at the basket. He's like, Kobe Bryant is your guy, right? I'm like, yep, Kobe Bryant is my guy. He's like, how many shots did Kobe take, to get to his points? His 30 points. I'm like, Kobe took a lot of shots, right? He didn't take 5 shots to try to get his 30. He took 30 shots, right, every night. So he was like, that's what I need you to do. You need to be able to take more shots at the basket. And so he was like, you need to get 40 leads. I said, okay. Hung up the phone with Steven. I purchased 20 leads.
All right, dude, this is good, bro. Because, like, for one, I think a lot of people can relate, And the thing I want to say just real quick is, like, you were self-aware. So you made the decision based off of who you were and what was going to allow you to be successful based off of yourself.
Correct.
And so I think for everybody on here, you want to kind of know yourself. Like, what, is there something that you might need to do based off of who you are to set yourself up to go out there and make the right choices, create the right disciplines, and go out there and make more shots, or give yourself a chance just to take a shot, right? But I think a lot of people, they do that, man. Like, they hear what to do. Like, the person says, this is what you got to do. And then we're just like the kid with the oven, like, I hear you, man. But, and then you just decide to step on the landmine and you end up losing a leg. So, like, do you know why you did that?
I think it was more of me maybe trying to prove him wrong at that time. I think that was more of what it was. Maybe just trying to prove him wrong, trying to say, okay, he said don't do it. Let me go do it and see if I can prove him wrong, type of thing. Or me just thinking that I knew better than he did at that time. And that's why I tell, new agents today that I bring in, the best way for you to experience immediate success for the first 90 days is to take your brain out.
That's good.
Your brain don't work here right now. So we got to take it out and put my brain in. And if you do that, I can almost guarantee you some success, right? Because if you're going to follow the things that I tell you to do from the perspective that I'm coming from with it, I know that I'm going to give you the right perspective, and you're not going to have the right perspective at this time. And it showed for myself. I didn't have the right perspective. I picked up the 20 leads. I remember I called through. I booked like 3 appointments. Went out to run the appointments. I sat with one and didn't sell. And I came back, called Steve, and told him what happened. He started laughing. I'm like, what do I do now? He's like, go get the 40 leads. I'm like, and he's like, not 20 more, go get 40 now. I'm like, that's another such and such. He's like, should have did it the first time. So then I went out and got the 40 leads, came back to the next dial session, booked like 13 appointments, went out and helped 7 other families, well, actually helped 13 families, off that first one. So it was definitely, it was an eye opener, for me, of just following the system, just do what he tells me to do, because he knows better than me at this point.
Dude, that's such a big concept, man. And that doesn't ever change, Brandon.
No.
It never changes.
No.
Like, I mean, I love take your brain out. I always look at, for me, it was like coachability gave me freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I was coachable, I didn't have to think about my thoughts. I could just take massive action on what was being said. So all my energy, emotion, activity was all just put into what the instruction was. And that allowed me to see so much more success from it. And I think that too often times, agents try to disqualify what the person that's already cross the path, what they've done, they try to disqualify by saying, well, I hear you, but, maybe I know better. Or maybe, but my financial situation. I hear you, but my personal situation. I hear you, but, and they just end up becoming a butthead, you know what I mean? Like they just butting their way through. But, it's like you have to work off that thought process. And I think that to that point, Brandon, like I've seen that happen as you start to see success. Sometimes you start reading your press clippings and thinking like, man, look what, I know I'm crushing it, man. Like I hit Hall of Fame, I've got a business growing. And then we start thinking that we know so much. And now we do know based off where we're at, but if we want to now cross another gap, because the goal is usually always like when I'm right here, I want to be there. But then once you get there, you got another thing to be at, And I think that when you're working off another person's thought process, you're going to be able to get there, because the thought process you've got has got you where you're at.
Correct.
And if you want to continue to develop and grow, you've got to work off somebody else's thought process, and that's always continuous.
Yeah. But
But it's harder when you first get started, and it's harder when you start seeing success.
correct.
That's the hardest parts to do it. So a lot of the struggle sometimes is self-inflicted, based off of those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about more about that, man. Like what are the struggles did you kind of go through that, we're testing, we're trying, but kind of made you who you are and got you to where you're at right now?
The biggest thing for me, I would say, very early in my career, I was that person that was constantly trying to do more with less. Okay. And I say that to talk about, the leads. I wanted to help more families by purchasing less leads, right? And not understanding the whole premise of stacking the deck in my favor. And so for me, I tell people all the time, they see the success that I have now, but if you would have met me my first 7 months in this business, I had never helped 20 families my first 7 months in this business.
So 7 months, never in a month.
8 months to help 20 families.
Okay.
And it would be 14 families, 15 families.
What did your financial situation look like those first 7 months of not helping 20 families a month?
It wasn't great. I mean, it was.
You're surviving.
We were surviving, but it wasn't, at a level of where it's at now, because, helping the 20 families really allows you to really do the things that's necessary within the business to grow the business. At that time, it was pretty much just me. I couldn't really grow the business because the money that was being made was going back in leads, going, to pay my bills, and maybe put a little something aside, but it wasn't nothing there to grow the business.
You couldn't get a recruiter, didn't do nothing with marketing, advertising?
No, not to pay for it. I had some people maybe doing it for free, but you know how the free work is it's going to be, you get what you pay for.
Sure.
Right.
What do you mean you did for free?
Or get somebody to work. My wife doing some
Oh,
stuff.
got it.
for free,
I was like, what kind of labor law you got, bro? You got a bunch of 12-year-olds in there? Like, what's going on, man?
Hey, my mom or somebody, hey, I need you to do this for me, right? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know that's how I started, man. I had my aunts helping me, and I'll kick you back when we do good,
Right.
They were glad they helped out. Shoot, my mom the other day, she said, yeah, you know what you are? And she got on an advanced market sales call,
Okay.
and they were talking about annuities. And I said, what, Mom? She said, you're an annuity. You're my annuity.
You're my annuity.
And I was like, well, I'm glad I am. That was one of my goals is to be able to, because heck, I don't know how people live off $900 a month,
No.
And, but yeah, that's pretty cool. So you had some free help.
Yeah, but the whole thing, like I said, not helping, the 20 families in my first, 7 months really help make me tough, or, toughen me up in terms of, going through everything, the ups and downs. But it wasn't until, I got to my first conference, because I started in June of 19. So I missed the conference. But that whole year, all I heard was everybody talking about how their businesses were exploding since they left conference. And it was like, wow, I can't wait to get to conference. Like, I've got to be great. Like, everybody's businesses are exploding since they left there. So fast forward to conference for 2020 in Vegas, had my first chance to get to conference. And I just remember being there at conference and being able to learn from, people like JP, who was the #1 producer that year. And, of course, Steve Giordano, he was coming, right? He was only here for like 6 months, and he was like, oh, like that, you could tell he was coming, right? And just listening to both of those guys talk about stacking the deck in your favor. Like that was the main thing that just resonated with me that entire conference. Like, stack the deck in your favor, stack the deck in your favor. And it's like, whatever amount of leads you think you need, buy double. And if you do that, typically the difference of you getting your money back on that is still the difference of one family protected to get your money back. But you're getting that many more opportunities.
Well, Brandon, listen, man, like what I heard is like, that's the same thing that Steven said your first time ever talking to him was stack the deck and double the lead flow.
Yeah.
So a year later, was it about a year later, 9 months, 10 months later?
Yeah, 8 months later.
8 months later, you hear the same thing.
Yep.
Like, what changed? Like, why do you think you knew that?
Yeah.
You already knew that. But like, what about that? Was it the environment? Was it the repetition? Like, what you already, why then?
I think the environment, but also, like you said, the repetition. I just heard it so many times over from different people. So not just Steven telling me, but just hearing it from different people that were experiencing massive success. It was like, okay, like the light bulb just clicked. I'm like, okay, so I need more leads. I need more leads. I need to, diversify my flow. And then once I did that, I left conference that month, and that very next month, I went from 17 families help that month of conference to 33 families help, and never looked back.
Yeah, I love it, dude. So in that 8 months, you probably heard that said many times, like double lead flow. I mean, I think a lot of times when we hear a podcast train, it's not necessarily something new.
Yeah.
But if you've not yet done it, you don't yet know it.
Correct.
It's like I just love that statement that says, like, man, to know and not to do is not to know. You know what I mean? It's like when I tell my kids, like, you gotta clean the room. I know, Dad. It's like, fool, you don't know.
You don't know.
If you knew, it wouldn't look like that, and I wouldn't have to keep telling you that. So like, I got to keep telling you because you don't know. If you knew, you would do it, or your reflection of knowing it would be apparent, and you're doing it. You're not doing it. But do you think like that 8 months, like that had to kind of happen for you to just like work on? Like, was there something like beneath the surface that you had to work on? Whether that was like playing not to lose, or betting big, or more of an abundance mindset lack. Was there certain things that were kind of that had to be worked on in that 8 months for that time to finally come where you're like, okay, I'm going to now do what I've been hearing since the first conversation I had?
I think for me it was probably more of that abundance mind state. Like, one thing about my wife always says is, I'm my biggest critic. I beat myself up more than anybody else can beat me up. And I think a lot of it came from that, learning to love myself a little more, not really beat myself down so much, about things, and just understanding and I would also say a lot of it was, comparing. I did a lot of comparing, those 7 months as well, where, I beat myself up because someone that maybe started 2 months after me was already helping 20 families. And then I would beat myself up, and let myself get into a mind state where maybe I wouldn't say shut down, but I maybe the fire dims a little bit, right? Because now I'm looking at myself as inferior, and instead of always looking at myself in a superior light. And so a lot of it, came from just me believing more in myself and believing more that I'm worthy of what's going on in my life. Because I'm just a country boy, man, from Wagner, South Carolina, man. Town of like 500 people, and we're all kin to each other, pretty much.
That's another podcast, bro.
Yeah,
We got to do a sequel for that one,
right?
right?
But just a little, and so when you, like I said, when you know better, you do better. And at that time, I just really probably just couldn't really see this being something for myself, right? And then with the experiences that I had in the past of jobs that I had as well, I was just always looking for that moment when it would not be what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man.
And that's one thing that just never came here at Family First Life. It was like, it is what it is. From day one, from the first day I met Sean, it's been exactly what he said it was going to be that day, every day.
And so that consistency,
Yeah,
it's kind of helped out with believing like I could put it all in.
I can put it all in.
And that had to come with time, right? You had to see him say stuff and then do stuff to build that. And maybe, like the thing is this is what I really do believe. I think that anything that happens, it does happen for you, not to you. I think that everything has with it a seed that's going to bring with it some great benefit if it's seen the right way. Yeah. And we just don't know, man. Like there's so many things that I had to go through in this business to become the person that could actually receive the amount of production or income or whatever you want to call it, the business, the right agents to attract the right team. Mm-hmm. Like there was just things I had to develop, man, because I was just a 19-year-old, kid that was trying to figure out how to get this thing going, man, and I had all kinds of different beliefs and identity things about myself, and you get pride that you got to deal with. Some people have got, insecure. Everybody has stuff. Like I'm like you, man. Like I never feel like anything I do is good enough, and I don't feel like I'm good enough, and that's a daily thing. And be clear, I have a relationship with God. Like I know that I'm created in His image. I know that I run my own race. I know that I'm loved regardless of what I do or don't do. I can't earn it or deserve it. I know those things. It doesn't matter. I still have to deal with those things. It's still a struggle. You know what I mean? I'm aware of it, but I still have to fight it. Now I know how to fight it from fighting the battle long enough.
Right.
I learned how to position myself and understand it. But the fight is always there. Always. And I think that's a big deal, because you can still feel like you're insignificant and create something significant if you put your head down and just continue to plug into people that can speak truth and life over you, and right. You can start to, detach that lie and birth some new truth. As we wrap up, Brandon, like is there any other struggle that really, I guess, spotlights to you where you're like, this took place and it was a tough time. It was a big valley. And then kind of like what benefit maybe came from that to kind of like, I guess, speak to what we're talking about.
I think for me, it would probably be my first death claim. Because, we get our license and we know we're going to be, helping families with their insurance. And, that, eventually you're going to have a death claim. Somebody's going to die that you protected. But you don't know exactly how that's going to be, or how that's going to go, or how it's going to affect you, when it does happen. And so, well, actually, I would go back to not even my first death claim. I'll go back to, for me, it would be the first time I knocked on the door to resolve a lead, and the person that died before I got there. But it was the lead up to that, the fact that I had the lead for about 3 weeks, and I didn't get out and knock the door, in a timely fashion as I normally would do for some reason with this particular lead. And when I did go out to knock it about 3 weeks later on a Sunday, I remember I was just doing a Sunday day of just door knocking. And the whole reason I was doing that was because I wasn't spending enough time on the phone either, right? You know, I wasn't putting enough time on the phone, so I was having full days of door knocks, which I don't do anymore. But I remember knocking on that door and the young lady answering the door, and I asked for her dad, and she just looked at me and started tearing up and said that he had died the week before. And I think that was a big moment in my career, because it was the first time that I truly felt like I did not do enough to protect that family, and I felt like it was my fault that the family wasn't in a better position than they probably could have been in. Good thing that he did have some coverage, but who knows the reason why he was looking for more, right? And so, but it really hit me in my heart. I think that was the first time, I used to be very, nervous about, talking on camera, making videos. I didn't even have social media before I started this business. My kids started social media for me, right?
Yours and mine both, dude. The first podcast we did, I was telling Casey, we were laughing about it, this was like, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, that 8 steps to final expense in home.
Okay.
Dude, okay. I cut that on my iPhone like 5 or whatever it was. It was the one that only had one camera. Dude, it was in this dark office. I think I bought like a ring, like one of those ring lights, like the barbers use, and I had my phone in there. And I recorded it, like this 8 steps final expense, right? And I got home. I told my daughter, I said, "Sweet, I'll give you $20 to edit this video," because I didn't know nothing about editing. Right. She's like, "Dad, I got it." She was doing some. In fact, she had started her own Etsy account for slime. She was selling slime. You know what I mean? And so she's like, "Oh, Dad, I got it." And I was like, "All right." So she edited on like Apple. Is it iMovie or something like that? iMovie. And she put this song that's like irritating as heck, you know what I mean? And it plays. I didn't even realize. I watched it back the other day, because it's got like 100,000 views or something. Like, people use it for training, but the quality of it is like, dude, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But like that's a perfect example. People look at this podcast room like, man, it's so nice in the office. It's like, dude, like, my first one, the one that's been most impactful to more agents than any other video, was cut on an iPhone 5 in a dark room by a 9-year-old. You don't just do the work. It doesn't have to get pretty. It doesn't have to be pretty. No. Stop comparing. You're behind the scenes. Don't compare your struggle, your valley, to somebody else's peak. Like, you just don't know.
Correct.
Like, you don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, just people don't know, man.
They don't.
They just don't know.
But one thing that did for me, like, that was the very first time that I made a video. That was the very first time I made a video. I remember leaving that doorstep, got back in my car, and the emotions just came over me, where I felt like I let that family down, and also my family as well. And so I made a video. That was the first video I ever made, but I actually went live on Facebook and made a video talking about how I was feeling after leaving that client's door, knowing that they had just passed a week prior to me getting there, and I could have been there 3 weeks ago, and just talked about that. Wow. And then that really allowed me to get more and more comfortable with, okay, I have to share what I'm doing with people. And if I don't share it, how are they going to know what I'm doing if I don't share it? So like I said, man, the biggest thing I love about this is Family First Life. It really allows you to really find like who you really are. Yeah. And the biggest thing I love about it is that it will expose you as well.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing. For me, it exposes work ethic. And that's one thing I've never had a problem with, growing up on the farm in South Carolina. My grandma didn't play. Like, summertime, it don't matter. You got to be up early. You got things that's got to be done before you can even think about going to play. There's work around here that's got to be done first. So working, I've never been afraid of working, of rolling my sleeves up, getting dirty. I don't care, what it is. And so that's how I knew I was going to succeed here, because it was finally something that I could do that was truly just built. It was all on me. Like, if I don't work it, it won't work. If I work it, will work. So one thing I know about me, I'm going to work. Like, that's my DNA, is to work. Because I got I got 5 girls as well.
Let's go, man.
Hey, you know how they are, man. Hey,
Absolutely.
Daddy, I don't want them to depend on no man but daddy, for as long as possible.
That's right. Get the validation from you,
Right.
not somebody else. That's what I said. Sean said that one time. He said, man, you want your daughter to get validation from you, how loved they are, how to be treated, not validation from somebody in the back of their car when they're 17. I said, that is absolutely the truth. And that's well said, dude.
Yeah.
And I've always thought about that. I think, dude, as we wrap up, man, like even that situation where you called that lead, you had it, they hadn't been protected. You couldn't go back in time. What was done was done.
Correct.
There's no point to try to fix something that was already done. So most people start dwelling on things that they literally are no longer it's in their control because it's already happened.
Yep.
But what is in your control is the response to that. And your response was, man, I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna let people know.
Yep.
Because maybe they don't understand the value that I now have because I've experienced this. Because you didn't really know the value of what we do until that happened.
Correct.
And that I could speak to that for myself. Tanisha was just on stage talking about the exact same thing. Like, how'd you go from 15 families to 30? I knocked on somebody's door and they'd already gone. She said the same thing you said, right? And so, but when you can get on there and you can share that, maybe somebody, makes that last hour of phone calls when they don't want to. Maybe they make the last 4 door knocks when they don't want to. Mm-hmm. And what happened to you doesn't happen for them because of what you exposed them to, because you told them the story. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so there's so much benefit. And then also now you're on social media. Now you did it one time. You're like, that wasn't so bad. And and then people comment on it and you're like, wow, this helped these people and this made a difference. And then you're more encouraged to do it. Now that's led to agents you've hired that you never would have hired if you never had. So all those things lead to something that's built the business. Even going back to, you saying you're working on the farm and that work ethic that was instilled. Yeah. Man, like, who knew? God only knew when that was going to be best used, when that seed of work ethic and that characteristic that was being bred out there, where most people would be like, man, that's terrible. I would never want to go through that. Sucks. Well, for a short period of time it did, but the work ethic that was left there, maybe somebody didn't go through that, but they lacked the work ethic and they never got to success here because they didn't have the work ethic. Right. And also maybe something that came with that was like, man, I need to just depend on myself. And so that was maybe something that was tied to when Steven first said, hey, do double. And you're like, man, I got it. I can still, who knows? Yep. Maybe it was or wasn't. But the reality is, if you just keep your head down and you keep plugging away and hearing the right message, the things that need to be worked out, because we all have dysfunctions. Dude, if I put my thoughts on this TV screen right here, there'd be 0 subscribers and people like, whoa, that dude, like, we're all human. Yep. We're all messed up. We're all sinners in need of a savior, man. We're all disasters trying to get this thing figured out, man. Right. And but if you just plug into the right stuff, man, it'll get figured out. And I like that song, the graves, graves in the gardens, the graves, the dead, the things that you're like, man, that happened. It'll turn into a garden. There'll be something birthed from it, And so that was great, man. I appreciate you jumping on. Everybody's got to struggle. The reality is your response will determine if the victory that should already be yours here will be yours. So guys, make it a massive week. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment below so you could be in the drawing for four winners now. 4 winners each week. Casey's going to do it right now. He's going to draw your name, hopefully, and you can have some lead money. And share this, guys. This might be something that, like Brandon shared a while back on Facebook when he had that first experience, that I guarantee there's people that impacted. I know for a fact. There's no question about it. And maybe just a simple share will impact somebody that watches and says, man, I've been going through this thinking it's just me. Maybe I'm not good enough. It's just me. No, it's not. I mean, hear from Brandon. You hear, and in fact, there's probably people come up to you, Brandon, like, man, your trainings, the telesales and the virtual sales and what you're doing is so good, and they've magnified. They put you on a pedestal. Well, hey, I hope you guys realize, if you put us on one and we got off of it and realized that there ain't no pedestal to be sitting on, because it's just a lot more struggle. And behind the scenes, the success is late nights, early mornings, grinding, getting discouraged, dealing with personal doubt, chargebacks, no shows, no sales, but just continue to press forward. And at the end of the day, the grave will turn into a garden, and it's a lot better than you could ever imagine, guys. So go make it a big week. Be strong. Stay steadfast, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to the $1,000 lead giveaway. if you commented on last week's podcast, which is playing right here, you're automatically entered to win $250 in free lead money. We're giving $250 of free leads away to 4 lucky people today. So leave a comment right now so you're entered to win next week's drawing. And without further ado, let's see who won this time. Barrett Insurance Benefits. Love these. I always get great value from them. Keep up the good work. Our second winner is Mateo G. Paul McLean's training is greater than anyone else's. Fire. Thanks for giving back. I have an ad for olive oil. I don't know why. Our third winner is Diego Ventura. Let's grow. And our fourth and final winner for today is... You can't win twice, Barrett Insurance Benefits. That's the first time that the same person's gotten picked twice for the same comment. Okay, our fourth winner is... Donnie, you won last week. But I'm going to read your comment anyway. You obviously can't win 2 weeks in a row. Your comment says, thank you, Gage and Jared, for your outlook and information on growing in this business. Always a great podcast with value. Thanks, Paul. Our fourth and final winner. Barrett Insurance Benefits, I guess your comment is just really standing out in the algorithm. Our fourth winner is Zachary Vom Stieg. Another week, another great learning session. Congratulations to our 4 winners who won this time. Guys, we do this every single week. We draw these names every single week. Hopefully we don't draw the same name 3 times in a row next week, but comment below. Be entered to win. And you can get your hands on some free leads and help more families without it being of any cost to you. So, we'll see you next time, guys. Take care. Leave a comment. We'll see you next time. Oh, by the way, winners, get in contact with Victoria. Her number is going to be right up here above my monitors. Kill it, guys. That's all I got to say. Have fun. Have a great week. And we'll see you next time.